welcome to 1923 Main Street.
Home of the Daddy-Daughter Disney Travel Podcast. We're your hosts.
I am Mike Belobradic.
And I'm Amelia Belobradic. And today we'll be discussing how important is food to a Disney vacation.
Yes, now, I think Amelia was a little bit resistant to do this topic, so it should be interesting.
She was?
Okay, maybe you're not. Maybe you'll agree with me. Let's find out. And I can't wait to hear what our listeners think about this question. So I was thinking back to, its 50th anniversary and all that sort of stuff. And I was thinking back to the early days. And I started to wonder, I don't recall way back in the 1970s and stuff like that, in the earlier days, even into the 80s, that food was such a dominant part of a Disney vacation.
That's because Instagram wasn't a thing.
Well, is that the point? Is it all because of that? So let's discuss, how important really is food? Is it become too much of a thing?
No.
Is this celebrating the latest cupcake like it's the second coming such a great thing? I mean, come on, let's get real. I started to think this food business on a Disney vacation is getting a bit ridiculous. And so I wondered, how important really, especially if you're a new Disney traveler, is food? And I don't mean, do you have to eat? Of course we need food, and you're going to have to eat.
Depends how long your vacation is.
Well, for a regular week vacation, it seems to be almost equally centered around food as it is to everything else. So how do you feel about that, for starters?
Well, I think that food is a very important part of a Disney vacation, and especially now in COVID because it's a lot harder to get on rides and to go to all the parks with the park passes and the park hopper being after 2 and everything. So in my opinion, food has become even more important. I know the most recent time when we just went, I had a giant list of food that I wanted to eat, and that was very important to my enjoyment of the Disney vacation.
But was that just because we'd missed a year for the first time in your life, pretty much, and first time in many decades for me? Is that why? Because, COVID situation's a little different because you were just missing everything.
No, it's because, especially when you can't do so many of the other things, more of the things that have made it nostalgic are more important. And not to mention that I am just a food person. I like eating food, as many other people do. And Disney has a lot of variety of great food, most of it in Mickey shapes. And when you're there, I think it's important to try and consume as much as you can.
So here's how I want to have you look at it. Compare it to when you go on another vacation, another kind of vacation. Let's say when we were in the south of France or something like that. Food does not hold the same importance in those things.
That's because they don't have good food.
They have a lot better food, I would say. Let's be honest.
No, they had disgusting food. I did not like it.
And this is going to be something I'm driving at here. Are we romanticizing Disney food,
of course,
beyond how good it actually really is, with a few exceptions?
No.
No, what? You said of course, then you said no.
I said of course we're romanticizing Disney food because it's Disney food and therefore it's better than normal food. But it's not beyond how good it is because it is actually quite good. And many of the things that are important to us that a lot of people consume are very good. Otherwise, people would stop consuming them.
So why do you think food is more important on a Disney vacation than a non-Disney vacation?
Because the food on a non-Disney vacation, well, actually it depends on the vacation. If you're going to a place that has a very specific trademark food, like if you wanted to go to Montreal or something and you wanted to have a beaver tail, that could be very important because it's part of the culture of the place that you're going, whereas like a Mickey sandwich and popcorn and Mickey waffles and stuff are very important to the culture of Disney and so therefore are important to the culture of your vacation.
But in those destinations, or something like, let's say when we stay at the Hotel Del in Coronado, San Diego area, we don't book the whole vacation around food, right? We just sort of go, where are we going to eat tonight? And you wander around and you eat. It's not like months in advance we're planning every food or looking for special foods you're going to seek out. So food has, I think this goes back to what you were starting this, and maybe you're helping me understand it as someone who's not food obsessed. I like food, but I'm not food obsessed.
And
Disney,
that's the problem.
like some people are, and I look at it
Hello,
always going,
nice to meet you.
Like, what's the deal? Because I think what you're getting at is the food is, here's what I'm hearing. Disney food, it's not necessarily the food itself. It's that Disney food has become part of the Disney experience.
Well, yeah.
In the same way a ride has in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I personally enjoy popcorn. I like waffles. I like hot pretzels. I like ice cream sandwiches. But just that added element of making it Disney and making it nostalgic and making it something that you have every time, it becomes increasingly important each time you go until you get to a point where it's like, this is the most important thing on my entire vacation. I can't live without it.
Do you think food is ruining Disney vacations?
No.
By getting you anxious about food or
It is not.
getting this or that. For some people,
It's
they get
very
really
enhancing.
stressed about having to try every new single thing that
Okay.
someone posts.
Well, that's
which
ridiculous.
is the kind of stuff that bugs me.
Yeah. Well, I think you can. There's lots of things that you can try, especially if they're a limited event and you think it will be very good. Keep in mind, lots of the cupcakes are not very good. I also recommend you follow less food channels because there are 20 million of them, and you can't possibly eat all of the food unless you're there for an entire month, in which case you would have even more new specials. It's impossible to eat all the food, just like it's impossible to go on all the rides within a week vacation. You just can't do it all. So I suggest what I do is I pick a few items of food that I really like and that I know I want to have, and then it's important for me to eat those, and then I'll experiment with another one or two each time.
Okay, I want to ask you two things based on that long speech you just gave, and they were sort of towards the beginning. So my first question is, when they do things like release Mickey sandwiches in grocery stores, is that annoying to you because it takes away the magic of getting those things at Disney destinations? Or do you like the fact that they do it because now you can get it at home?
I mean, well, we don't have them here in Canada.
Yeah, we don't have them in Canada, but in the U.S. they are in a lot of grocery stores.
First of all, they're not the exact same. Like, they're the same, but they're not really the same. Like, they're not the exact same things that they sell in the parks. So that makes it a bit better.
I'm not sure about that, but
I've heard multiple
Okay.
people say that they are slightly different. I don't know. Again,
Okay.
we've never had them. We don't
Right.
live in the U.S. But I think I wouldn't personally buy them. But I think for me, it takes away. But for a lot of people, if you do really like something, I can totally get behind buying it at home. But for me, I think it's more special when you can just get it in the parks, me personally.
Okay, and my second question is, I would agree with that as much. And don't get me wrong, I like dining at Disney and I like Disney food, but I'm not Disney food obsessed. And
It's just like how you can't listen to Christmas songs all year because then it makes November 1st to January 6th feel unspecial.
But me personally, when I see, and we've talked about the cupcakes and stuff in the past, there's some so-called Disney news. They like to fancy themselves as Disney news sites, and their news is the latest cupcake release. And, if you ever actually try half of those things, they don't taste very good. And I know you'll agree with that.
Yeah, I'm just saying if you do go a lot and you want to try some of the new stuff, I suggest you actually look at the ingredients and the stuff, see if it's something you'd like. And if it is, I would say try to find it, but also remember that the cupcakes are not good. Like 90% of the time, if they're the big giant ones with the Cinderella glass slipper and the iridescent icing. It's more for an Instagram photo, but if that's what you're after, I mean.
And that's why I think you were talking about food sites and stuff. I think there's more value in the ones who, at least if they're going to post every cupcake that's or drink that's released as if it's news, because guess what, you people, it is not news. And you're trying to make news because you got nothing else to report. But secondly, if you're going to try to make a news, at least review it and say, you know what, looks great. And there's a lot of art in creating them. I love looking at them, right? And same with those candy apples, but
Yeah.
you can say, but you know what, it doesn't taste very good. So great for photos, but don't buy it, right? That would be value at least. So before I forget.
I was going to actually agree with you, but sure,
Oh,
cut me
okay.
off.
Oh, well then take some time and speak.
Yeah, there are a ton of news sites that do exactly that.
So-called news sites.
Yeah, so-called news sites.
Self-proclaimed. They call themselves news sites.
Yeah, and then every now and then you find the odd one that does that, but they also review it, and they also have Disney News, and maybe they have a YouTube channel. And I think those are the ones that even if you are a big food person, you should go to because, yes, you get the food, but you also get a review of the food,
Yes,
which
at
tells
least
you
you're adding
don't buy
value.
it if it's disgusting.
Correct.
And then also actual news.
All right, I agree with that. Now, before I forget, the second thing I wanted to bring up based on what you said.
Yes.
Does food, in the way we've been talking about it, vary by resort? So we tend to go to Disney World a lot in our podcast,
okay.
but we also frequently visit Disneyland and Disneyland Paris.
Yes.
At Disneyland Paris and Disneyland California, do you find the same deal with food, or is it more anchored in Disney World?
No, I think it's the same. Although when you said resort, I was like, ooh, is my food different at the Polynesian than the Grand Floridian? I mean, other than Dole Whip. Like,
No,
that's
I
what
meant
thought you
I meant the bigger resorts. Like,
yeah. I think it's still an important part, at least for me, and every time I go on any sort of Disney vacation, because they are all like fairly similar in the sense of their fundamental values, but it's probably more important for me at Disney World, especially because the popcorn in Disneyland Paris comes out to be like $16 American
or something. I can't remember if it was that much, but it was definitely.
Sorry, it was $16 Canadian.
It was definitely a lot
which
more.
is a lot
Yeah,
compared to like the $5 it is at the
whatever
World.
it was a lot.
So, yeah, I find that it's definitely an important part, but it's more for me nostalgic at Disney World because that's where I've had all the things. And also, some of the resorts don't have the same thing. Like, they don't have the Main Street Bakery Cinnabon at a place with a different Main Street, you know?
Yeah, and even the popcorn, like you said, there's flavored popcorn at Disneyland Paris that
Which is really good.
Which you don't find, at least I haven't seen it in the carts at Disneyland or Walt Disney World.
Maybe that's why it's a whole lot more expensive over there.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's worth that. Another thing I've noticed is that because of this food fascination, I think you're striking it. Disney food has been romanticized to the point where, in many cases, the actual food quality and taste becomes secondary. And this is what annoys me a little. Not annoys, but maybe annoys. There was a chat I was following and I commented on recently about Be Our Guest and people raving about the food. Well, you know what? The food there now is just not as good, period. And of course, you can argue that it's just as good. But if you're someone who's been going since it first opened, when it was quite good, I mean, it was a top tier, it was in my top 10 just for the food, not for the experience. And I still recommend going for the experience. I do like Be Our Guest, but the actual food quality and dishes themselves now are just not near what they were. And then people argue about it.
Go to Royal Table.
Of course, argue with me all you want. But the food quality goes downhill, but the place is still romanticized on the Disney magic, I guess.
I mean, the atmosphere is really nice. It's almost more immersive than Cinderella Castle. I mean, Cinderella Castle on the outside is stunning, but the Be Our Guest on the inside, you feel like you're in the film set
and
for the live action movie, which is beautiful.
I'm saying go there, and the food is not gross.
Oh no, it's still better than like Narcoossee's or
but
something.
But it's overpriced now for what you're actually getting.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you wanted to go for a castle meal in the Magic Kingdom, my personal vote would be Royal Table.
Yeah, and the difference there is that Cinderella's Royal Table, which used to be King Stephen's Feast, was sort of an add-on, right? It wasn't to the castle, whereas Be Our Guest was built as an immersive restaurant, so that's why. They had a lot more freedom to make it a lot better. But I still, between those two, I still prefer Cinderella's Royal Table, and one of the reasons is, and you know, I do find that food still good at every meal. So what about restaurants versus snacks? How much
snacks
when you think of Disney food?
Snacks.
So it is snack driven.
Of course it's snacks.
Which would explain why all these Insta channels and so on and so forth go bananas over every little
No one gets 5 million likes over the filet mignon at Victoria and Albert's.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Or the duck, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
first of all, that in that example, that's much more exclusive. But I see what you mean. It's easier to get your sugar fix and go to the snacks, and they're more attainable.
And they're also more beautiful.
Well, yeah, that's my point. A lot
and
of
more
those
aesthetically
things,
pleasing.
Even the drinks are more artistic, which I appreciate. Right? I love having someone who's gone to chef school. I do appreciate the art that goes into creating those things, but I think they're more art than they are gastronomic
and also
creations.
Yeah, most things that you have in a restaurant, you can't exactly say, "Oh, excuse me, just let me take this plate outside while I pose it in front of the castle for my Instagram picture," which you can do with the cupcake. So the cupcake, it's not just the cupcake itself, it's the cupcake in the background and the whole aesthetic of it. Whereas with the dinner, it's more about the actual food, which I feel like at least those sort of influencers deem less important.
So I think we're on different sides of the fence, and that's what caused me to think about this. For me, and you'll notice in the last few years in particular, I've gotten off the food rat race. I appreciated the older...
I don't like that.
I appreciated the older times, and then mind you, Disney World was smaller then, but still, where one or two things were the highlight, like going out for a nice dinner of our Disney vacation. It wasn't every single night we had to pre-book everything and get stressed about food and spend half a day searching something out because I saw it on social media.
We don't do that.
We don't, and
we don't do.
We were never extremists, but we used to let sort of the food drive us a lot more. Now, me and at least, I am less letting the food. The food is not what Disney's about for me.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, at least right now, the food becomes more important when you take certain other elements away from the Disney vacation.
I get what you're saying. When things become harder, like rides to get on, unless you're getting Genie or park passes, food is something you can sort of seek out, especially with Disney Springs and stuff like that.
Yeah, or if you don't want to wait in too many lines because of the COVID and the mask restrictions and blah, 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 they change all the time.
Well, then I guess Disney's strategy is working, because part of all this stuff
is to get me to buy more things, including food.
Yeah, they want people to spend more time in parks, sort of waiting for their return time for a ride.
Good job, Disney. I'm spending more money on you.
Shop around, and maybe, it could be food or souvenirs or whatever it is. So can you quantify this? And if you're listening, see if you can as well. And you know what? I will poll this. If it's possible, what percentage of a Disney vacation experience for you is food? And I will start, and I will
25 to 50.
Well, I'm not going to give that big a range.
What?
I was going to say for me, it's more like 25.
Yeah. See?
It's not 25 for you. There's no way.
What do you mean?
That's the percentage of food to your overall experience? I think yours is more like 50.
Well, no.
So be honest when you do this at home. If you have a list of all the snacks you want to eat at your next vacation, it's more than 25% of your experience.
No, because I have food and snacks, I have rides, I have hotel I stay at, and then I have merchandise and photos. Each 25% importance.
So food for you is equally as important as a ride.
That's not true.
That's what you just said.
It is.
It is not for me.
It depends which ride it is.
I mean, I enjoy certain snacks, but I'm pretty basic in my Disney food needs. I don't like all those crazy fancy
20
things.
for rides, 30 for food, 25 for which hotel I stay at, and 15 for merchandise and 10 for photos.
All right.
Okay. That's the importance of my Disney vacation, all broken down.
That's pretty specific off the top of your head.
It is.
So let us know what you think after listening to this episode. And do you, A, agree that food has just become a little bit too prominent in the overall Disney experience? Or do you like the fact that Disney food is having a heyday? And, or even if it's not the greatest food there is, just the fact that it's Disney and they're putting an effort into designing fun themed things.
I think we're talking about different things. You did this entire episode so you could diss on the cupcakes, whereas I'm talking about the Mickey-shaped and popcorn.
No, I'm not. I'm
food that I like.
Those are the ones that get the attention. No one posts because
they don't make.
I like those old standbys. Those are fine. The things that have been there since the very beginning, right?
Yeah, and
popcorn and waffles and stuff like that.
Yeah, and those are my favorite things, and that's why, because they're more nostalgic for me, and I know that they're good, and so I try to hit them every single time that I go, and when I don't get them, it's a little disappointing.
Yeah, that's okay. That's how I am too as well, but you're a little bit more into trying some of the new things.
I just
and
love
it's okay,
food.
But
I mean, when you feel that taste on your tongue, it's just it's like a memory of all of the amazing times that you had in the past vacations. And when you can't get that deja vu feeling on rides or other things on that vacation, the food becomes increasingly important, as I've been trying to drill into all of your heads.
The only times I actually think it is good and prominent, for me, not saying for anyone else, is during the festivals. So Food and Wine and now Flower and Garden, where they have food booths and you're tasting food from around. That's different than my Disney vacation is about food. And maybe if you're a foodie, that's what it is. And maybe you don't like rides and you really want to go just for the food to try it and check it out.
But my Disney...
And maybe, it is, maybe I'm coming around in this episode. Maybe it is a good thing to have because it caters to all different kinds of travelers.
Yeah. And my Disney food is not like random new cupcake I saw online. Limited time offer pineapple upside down shake in whatever that restaurant is in Animal Kingdom. It's mostly the standbys and then one or two new things I want to try. So for me, what is more important than food is the nostalgia of certain food and not trying every single food I possibly can that looks at all appetizing.
All right, that's fair. And I think if you're a new Disney traveler, try to bear in mind, that's, I think, what I'm thinking of too. So for people who are new, don't get so caught up in the food stuff because it really can, it's not everything, right, on the trip. So it's fun to seek out some of the stuff, or if you see it, try it. But restaurant bookings and getting stressed about that, and just try to go minimal and pick one or two that you really want to do. There's lots of good quick service now you can do on the spot. Yeah,
so what I would say is for people that are new, pick, exactly, 1 or 2 restaurants you want to try, maybe a dinner and then a breakfast, and then go around the parks, and when you see some old standbys that you want to try a pretzel or try some popcorn or try a Mickey sandwich. And then if you do find like a pineapple upside down shake or something that looks interesting that you want to try and that you've read the ingredients and sounds good, then I mean, go for it, as long as it's not kind of driving your vacation over things that you might not actually like.
Yeah, I like it. I like to go
That's
retro
my
myself
advice.
and treat Disney food the way I used to treat it, or the way that I treat it on any other vacation. And even for stuff like the things I love, I don't even know. Yeah, on our summer vacation, our most recent one in August,
We didn't have
I didn't even have a Mickey sandwich. Yeah, I didn't even have a Mickey sandwich.
We were going to, though.
So I'm not, we were going to, but yeah.
To be fair,
Yeah,
we
but
were like,
still, I'm not obsessed in it that way, right?
I am, because that we were literally.
It didn't bother me.
It bothered me because we were like, okay, we're going to eat dinner, then we'll run back to get the Mickey sandwich.
And
what
then,
happened before we
then
could
the
run
bottom
back to
fell
get
out.
the Mickey sandwich?
So if you haven't listened to that horrible episode,
Great
not
timing.
the horrible episode, but the
Great
episode of
timing.
horrible things, the very bad day, whatever
Way to
that
put for
is.
your own show.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievably shocking tales.
Yeah,
from our...
unbelievably shocking tales.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for listening. We may or may not have made you hungry or angry or thoughtful if you are wondering if you really should be spending so much time on Disney food.
You should.
So we'll be reaching out, as we always do, on social media at 1923 Main Street, and we want to hear all your opinions for or against Disney food having too big of a prominence in a Disney vacation. Let us know what you think.
But to be fair, chasing down the food you saw on Instagram is kind of like the new Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom.
I disagree. I would not give that much weight to some of those Instagram accounts. All right, everyone. Thanks, as always, for joining us. And we will see you again next week here on 1923 Main Street. And I wish you all a magical day.
Bye-bye.